10 common habits that lead to foolish assumptions without realizing. Have you ever made a snap judgment about someone, only to realize later that you were completely wrong? We all make assumptions every day, often without even noticing. The problem is that many of these assumptions are based on flawed thinking, personal biases, and incomplete information. They can lead to misunderstandings, poor decisions, and even lost opportunities. Some habits make us more likely to fall into this trap, and once you recognize them, you can start to think more clearly and avoid making foolish mistakes. Here are 10 things people do that lead to incorrect assumptions, without even realizing it. 1. Not asking for clarification. One of the biggest reasons people make wrong assumptions is that they fail to ask questions. Instead of confirming what someone actually means, they fill in the blanks with their own interpretation. Imagine hearing a coworker say, "That project is going to be a disaster." Without asking why, you assume they are criticizing your work. In reality, they may just be frustrated with a lack of resources. If you had simply asked, you could have avoided unnecessary stress or resentment. Asking for clarification takes seconds, but it can prevent misunderstandings that can damage relationships and lead to poor decisions. 2. Reacting emotionally, not logically. When emotions drive our decisions, we often ignore facts. Anger, fear, excitement, or frustration can cloud our judgment, making us see things that aren't really there. For example, if someone doesn't text you back right away, you might assume they are ignoring you. But in reality, they could be busy, sleeping, or dealing with their own problems. By letting emotions take over, you create a false reality in your mind. Instead of reacting impulsively, take a step back. Ask yourself, what evidence do I have for this assumption? This simple habit can prevent you from making irrational conclusions. 3. Thinking the past predicts the future. Many people believe that past experiences are reliable indicators of what will happen next. While history can provide useful insights, it does not guarantee future outcomes. Just because a friend cancelled plans twice doesn't mean they will cancel again. Just because an investment performed well last year doesn't mean it will this year. The world is constantly changing, and clinging to past patterns can lead to bad decisions. It's important to assess each situation on its own merits, rather than assuming history will repeat itself. 4. Projecting personal experiences onto others. Everyone sees the world through their own lens, shaped by personal experiences. The mistake comes when we assume others think, feel, or act the same way we do. For example, if you hate public speaking, you might assume that everyone else feels the same anxiety. But some people thrive on it. If you grew up in a strict household, you might think everyone else had similar experiences. These assumptions can make us misunderstand others and their motivations. Recognizing that everyone has unique perspectives helps us avoid these projection errors and build stronger relationships. 5. Overestimating others' abilities. Another common mistake is assuming that everyone has the same level of knowledge or skill in a particular area. Think about a time when you tried to explain something to someone, only to be met with a blank stare. You might have assumed they knew certain terms or concepts that they had never even heard of. This is a huge issue in workplaces, classrooms, and personal relationships. Clear communication requires understanding the other person's knowledge level and adjusting accordingly. 6. Letting bias cloud judgment. We all have biases, whether we realize it or not. These biases influence our assumptions, often leading us to make unfair or incorrect judgments. For example, if you believe that young people are lazy, you might assume that a younger coworker isn't working hard, without actually evaluating their performance. If you think expensive products are always better, you might ignore a cheaper but higher quality option. Being aware of our biases helps us make more objective decisions. The best way to combat this is by questioning your own thoughts. Am I seeing the full picture, or am I letting my bias take control? 7. Ignoring context and motivation. People's actions are influenced by their circumstances, but we often judge them without considering the bigger picture. For example, if someone snaps at you, you might assume they are rude or unfriendly. But what if they are dealing with a personal crisis? If a normally hardworking employee starts missing deadlines, you might assume they are lazy, without realizing they are struggling with burnout or personal issues. Before making assumptions, take a moment to consider possible reasons behind someone's behavior. Context is everything. 8. Believing everything should be obvious. Many people assume that if something is clear to them, it should be clear to everyone else. This leads to frustration and misunderstandings. For example, an experienced mechanic might think that changing a tire is obvious, but someone with no experience in car repair might have no clue where to start. A manager might assume that employees know company policies without properly explaining them. Just because something makes sense to you doesn't mean it's obvious to others. Explaining things clearly and with patience prevents unnecessary confusion. 9. Jumping to conclusions too fast. We live in a fast-paced world where people often want immediate answers. But rushing to conclusions without enough information can lead to serious mistakes. Imagine seeing a friend walking past you without saying hello. You might instantly assume they are upset with you, when in reality, they simply didn't see you. Or you hear a rumor and assume it must be true, without verifying the facts. Jumping to conclusions is a habit that can destroy relationships and make you look foolish. The next time you feel yourself rushing to judgment, take a deep breath and gather more information before deciding what's true. 10. Trusting only personal perspective. Many people fall into the trap of believing that their way of seeing things is the only correct way. They dismiss other viewpoints without consideration. For example, someone who has never struggled financially might assume that poor people just need to work harder. A person with strong political beliefs might assume anyone who disagrees is simply wrong. But the world is complex, and different people have different perspectives for valid reasons. Being open-minded doesn't mean you have to change your beliefs, but it does mean respecting the fact that others see things differently. Final thoughts. Assumptions are dangerous because they shape the way we see the world, often in ways that aren't accurate. The good news is that by recognizing these 10 habits, you can train yourself to think more critically, communicate more effectively, and avoid unnecessary misunderstandings. Next time you find yourself jumping to a conclusion, take a step back and ask yourself, do I really have enough information to be sure? If the answer is no, it's time to dig deeper. That one simple habit can change the way you interact with the world and help you make better, smarter decisions. If you enjoyed watching this video, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell, so you don't miss any new videos. Let us know your thoughts about this video in the comment section down below, and feel free to stay and enjoy it until the end. Also make sure to check out our next highlighted video, and we will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe.